The African continent is implementing a number of large-scale, cross-border infrastructure projects with the help of foreign stakeholders in an effort to promote intra-African investment and commerce. 2024 marks a new period of transformation in the dynamic terrain of African development, with a lineup of breathtaking megaprojects that have the potential to completely reshape the continent's future. So, here we take a look at some of the most amazing construction projects completed in Africa. Number 1. Tanzania, internet balloons in Zanzibar. Only 20% of Tanzanians, according to the World Bank, use the internet, and their usage is restricted by low digital literacy, expensive internet plans, and patchy coverage. But soon, the skies may bear the written word of transformation. Aerostats, or tethered balloons, are being used by UK business World Mobile to establish a hybrid network that will offer nearly blanket coverage over the islands. Described as the first stage in World Mobile's ambition to help put almost 4 billion people online before 2030, the project is the first, after a successful $40 million fundraising, and will provide coverage and access to the digital economy for millions of people across Africa, according to World Mobile. In this novel experiment, 2 solar-powered, helium-filled balloons with a broadcast range of roughly 70 kilometers apiece are expected to hover 300 meters above the ground while using 3G and 4G frequencies. In Zanzibar, these internet balloons have the potential to offer a dependable and large-scale network. According to World Mobile, an aerostat signal, which is utilized as a low-altitude platform station, LAPS is adequate for activities like email and web browsing. A network of ground-based nodes that can each deliver Wi-Fi fast enough for hundreds of users to engage in gaming and video streaming is now being built. The advantages go beyond what the archipelago may immediately gain from them. More internet access could spur socio-economic growth in Tanzania and throughout Africa. Through the act of bridging digital gaps and promoting connectivity in underprivileged or rural locations. Number 2. Equatorial Guinea, Punta Europa Gas Mega Hub. The nation's premier gas mega hub, GMH, which aims to develop an intra-African gas trade by utilizing current infrastructure, is rapidly expanding. After the first phase successfully connected the liquefied natural gas LNG terminal at Punta Europa with the Chevron-operated Eland field, the second phase, which starts in January 2024, will process gas from the Marathon Oil-operated Alba field. The Asang field has been producing gas since 2011, and the third phase of the gas megahub aims to commercialize that gas. Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea established a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, at the start of 2022 to commercialize undeveloped gas resources close to their shared border. This would allow Nigeria to have access to the Punta Europa LNG terminal through an offshore gas pipeline that would connect to the Alba facilities. This Memorandum of Understanding could accelerate the development of Nigeria's gas reserves, such as Oran 2, and investigate potential avenues for oil field commercialization in the vicinity. In addition, Equatorial Guinea and Cameroon agreed on a bilateral trade agreement in March of last year, which allowed the GMH to access trans-border wet gas reserves and strengthened its ambition to establish itself as the Gulf of Guinea's primary center for gas processing. Equatorial Guinea's Punta Europa Gas Mega Hub is using its current infrastructure and forming international alliances to create a more integrated and gas-powered future for the continent, while also boosting its own economy. Number 3. Egypt, the Suez Canal expansion. This extension project to widen and deepen the southern section of the canal is part of the continued commitment to improving its capabilities. This extension, which is expected to come with a $2 billion price tag, is a calculated reaction to the highly publicized 2021 container ship grounding that caused a nearly week-long disruption to international trade. According to previously announced plans, the southernmost 30 kilometers of the canal, where the Ever Given ship became grounded, will be expanded 40 meters eastward and deep into 72 feet from 66 feet. A southern section of the canal will be expanded and deepened as part of this 2019 proposal, which aims to lower the possibility of massive container ships striking aground. This will make this challenging section of the canal 28% easier for ships to navigate. Completed in July 2023, The expansion was carried out exclusively by the Suez Canal Authority and its associated firms. It is expected to revolutionize international shipping by 2024. This project has the potential to elevate Egypt's status as a geopolitical powerhouse and make it an even more significant center for global shipping. Furthermore, trade throughout the continent stands to benefit from the widened Suez Canal, which will make it easier and more efficient for ships to navigate. Number 4. Angola, the Libido Corridor. The Libido Corridor is a trans-regional infrastructure project that uses Angola's port of Libido to link northwest Zambia and the Southern Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, to international trade markets. The project has the support of these three nations, as well as the African Development Bank, Africa Finance Corporation, the United States, and the European Union. Its objectives are to successfully implement the initiative, raise funds, and reduce risk. The project helps to reduce the infrastructure and logistical problems that the mining industry in southern Africa confronts. As part of the concession, Libido Atlantic Railway recently allocated $455 million for the purchase of 35 locomotives and 1,555 carriages in Angola, in addition to personnel training. There will be an additional $100 million invested in the DRC, and further investments in Zambia are still possible. The project is important because it might simplify exports and strengthen the economies of Zambia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Angola, and it also indicates increased interest in Africa's mineral assets from Western partners. Next up, number 5, Nigeria Lekki Deep Seaport. The titan of steel and progress, the Lekki Deep Seaport, rises on the shores of Nigeria, where the Atlantic whispers promises of riches. This enormous entryway, the country's deepest, is more than a port. It is a transformative catalyst that has the power to change Nigeria's economic environment and have an impact elsewhere. It is among the biggest seaports in West Africa and the largest in Nigeria. Constructed via a $1.5 billion agreement between China Harbor Engineering Company and Talarum Group, the Lekki port is significantly larger than its Nigerian competitors, with the ability to accept and reject an astounding 4 million metric tons of dry commodities every year. Envision bustling warehouses, dormant cargo smoothly traversing automated systems, and enormous ships effortlessly engaging in conversation. This effectiveness results in quick transit times, lower operating expenses, and increased trade with Nigeria. In the following 15 years, analysts project a revenue gusher of $361 billion, providing a lifeline for a country desperate for economic recovery. However, the effects of the Lekki port cut across national boundaries. This groundbreaking project has the power to advance infrastructure development and economic success throughout the continent of Africa. The port formally opened for business in April 2023, and by 2024 and beyond, it should be operating at full capacity. Number 6. Kenya, Konza Technology City. The goal of Konza Technology Metropolis, a sustainable metropolis planned 60 kilometers west of Nairobi, is to assist Kenya in realizing its Vision 2030 objectives, which include accelerating economic growth in the technology and communication industries and moving toward a middle-income position. This new technology hub will be situated on 5,000 acres of land spanning 3 counties: Machakos, Makueni, and Kajiado, within a 10-kilometer buffer zone, 64 kilometers south of Nairobi, on the route to the port city of Mombasa. The technological city, known as Africa's Silicon Savannah, was established with the goal of fostering Kenya's emerging tech sector and elevating the nation to the top of the continent's high-tech ranking. About $14.5 billion are expected to be required. However, only $800 million have been raised and funded so far. The project aims to draw businesses including software development, disaster recovery centers, data centers, business process outsourcing, light assembly manufacturing, as well as call centers. A research and technology-focused university, together with hotels, residences, schools, hospitals, a scientific park, a convention center, and retail centers are also planned to be constructed. Number 7. Africa, Google Equiano. A groundbreaking subsea internet cable project called Google Equiano has become a game-changer for connectivity in Africa. The purpose of the 15,000-kilometer cable is to provide high-speed internet access to the west coast of Africa. When Equiano has been completed, it will begin in Western Europe and continue between Portugal and South Africa along the West African coast, with branching units in a route that can be utilized to expand access to other African nations, developed in response to the growing need for high-speed internet. The project, which is expected to cost about $1 billion, is a testament to Google's dedication to bridging the digital gap in Africa. With a capacity of 144 terabits per second, it can provide internet speeds in certain nations that are more than 5 times faster than the previous cable serving the region. Wow! Nigeria is projected to receive the first branch. With Google providing all funding, this new cable becomes our 14th global subsea cable investment and 3rd private international cable, following Dunant and Curie. Equiano has begun installation and is expected to be completed by 2024. This puts it in a position to completely transform digital connectivity throughout the continent. Number 8. Nigeria Dangote Refinery. Nigeria has been frightened by the paradox of gasoline shortages and crippled refineries for decades, even with its enormous oil reserves. However, amid the plains of Lekki, Lagos, a revolution is rising. This tightened, which covers 2,635 hectares, with a production capacity of up to 650,000 barrels per day. The Dangote refinery is expected to be the biggest facility in Africa. A deep seaport, a fertilizer unit, and a 435 MW power station are all part of the refinery complex. It is planned for the refinery to start operating gradually. Phase 1 is anticipated to launch in the first quarter of 2024 and reach full capacity by 2025, barring small setbacks. Nigeria will no longer experience severe gasoline shortages thanks to the refinery, which will also lower petroleum prices and establish Nigeria as a regional refining hub. This is a significant step toward the development of Nigeria's downstream infrastructure. Nigeria gets closer to energy independence with every processed barrel. There will be a consistent supply of gasoline, diesel, and other petroleum products, making fuel shortages a thing of the past. Millions of people will no longer be plagued by power outages as industry powered by a steady supply of fuel takes their place. The effects on the economy will be powerful, with factories running at full capacity, transportation costs falling, and foreign investment rising in a country that is no longer beset by energy instability. However, the Dangote refinery's influence stretches across national boundaries. Number 9. Uganda Lake Albert Development. 2 upstream oil projects are part of Uganda's Lake Albert development, the Kingfisher Project, the Total Energies operated Tilenga Project, and the Kingfisher Project, operated by China National Offshore Oil Corporation, CNOOC. The aggregate output capacity of these projects is expected to reach 230,000 BPD when they start operating in 2025. Together with providing Uganda with its first oil, the project entails building the 1,443-kilometer East African Crude Oil Pipeline, EACOP, which will enable international exports by moving about 246,000 barrels of oil per day from Uganda's Tilenga and Kingfisher fields to Tanzania's port of Tanga. The EACOP is expected to be completed in 2025 and has as major players Total Energies, the Tanzania Petroleum Corporation, the Uganda National Oil Company, and CNOOC. Technology combined to create prosperity. Here comes number 10. Nigeria Standard Gauge Railway. Currently under construction in Nigeria, the Lagos-Kano Standard Gauge Railway is a 1,343-kilometer standard gauge railway. When completed, the railway would run from Lagos, a port city on the Atlantic Ocean, to Kano, which is close to the Niger border, via Abuja, the nation's capital. The railway takes the role of the badly maintained and with a lower design capacity Cape Gauge Western Line, which was constructed by the British between 1896 and 1927. This massive infrastructure is being constructed in phases, with each phase opening up new opportunities. After being finished in 2016, the Abuja-Kaduna stretch takes travelers past beautiful scenery and into an era of efficient transportation. Operational since June 2021, Lagos to Ibadan brings the energy of the port city, vibrating with the promise of trade and wealth closer to the hinterland. By 2025, the last section of building a bridge from Ibadan to Kano will have completed the magnificent voyage and woven Nigeria even closer. However, this enormous project costs a staggering $11.2 billion, which is a reflection of the scope and courage of the idea. The Nigerian government and China Exim Bank collaborated to take up this load, with private investors supporting some sectors. This intricacy is reflected in the timeline, where each phase is a meticulously done chapter in a continuous story. The Kano Railway in Lagos holds great potential as a driver of economic change. Imagine travelers hopping between bustling towns, factories humming with unprecedented efficiency, and freight moving easily from port to hinterland. Moving on, number 11, Ethiopia, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. One of the most ambitious and controversial infrastructure projects in Africa is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GARD. At $5 billion, this enormous dam is expected to produce an astounding 6,000 megawatts of electricity each year. Ethiopia is compelled to use crowdsourcing to fund the GARD by selling bonds internally and convincing staff members to donate a portion of their salaries. Exim Bank of China also provided $1 billion of the entire cost for the turbines and electrical equipment. Conflicts over the project have arisen throughout the region, especially with countries downstream, like Egypt and Sudan, who worry about how the dam will affect their access to water, which is essential for agricultural and daily life. Despite these disputes, the GARD has the potential to bring about a host of advantages for the region once it is finished, including better access to energy for Ethiopia's expanding population, a possible boost to regional electricity grids, and improved economic development for the export of excess energy, which will promote stability and advancement in the region. Number 12. MSGB C225 kW Regional Interconnection Line. With its 1,677-kilometer electrical connectivity network spanning West Africa, the newly established MSDB C225 kilowatt Regional Interconnection Line serves as a symbol of energy resiliency and cooperation among neighboring countries. This ambitious 225 kilowatt artery, which emerged out of the Gambia River Basin Development Project, stretches across Senegal, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Conakry, and paves the way for a more hopeful and interconnected future. To enable a regional energy exchange, a number of utilities from the four nations have joined forces, notably Senelec, Electricity of Guinea, Electricity and Water of Guinea-Bissau, and the Gambian National Water and Electric Company. Guinea-Conakry and Guinea-Bissau will join their MSGBC counterparts in energy sharing via the network at the project's completion, which also entails the construction of 15 electronic transformation stations, hence boosting energy resiliency across 14 West African countries. Collaboration is the project's main motivator. With this, millions of people could have better access to dependable electricity, which reduces the dependence on a single fossil fuel source and increases climate resilience. Number 13. Egypt, new capital city. Emerging from the desert sands, Egypt's new capital will provide Cairo with much-needed fresh air. The city's infrastructure is being taxed by an ever-growing population. There are 21 residential and 25 business areas in the smart city, which is located 45 kilometers east of Cairo. There will be multiple man-made lakes, 90 square kilometer solar energy farms, and a huge recreation park. Started in 2015 and is projected to cost $58 billion. The project is designed to function as a centralized center for financial and governmental processes. With 6.5 million people expected to live there, the new metropolis offers an appealing alternative to Cairo's overpopulation. It promotes urban decentralization, the introduction of contemporary infrastructure, including a large number of skyscrapers, and the audacious goal of being Africa's tallest structure. The newly acquired administrative capital has the capacity to promote economic growth, draw foreign capital, and generate employment prospects. In addition, the project seeks to improve Egypt's reputation abroad by presenting an image of progressive urban planning and encouraging a wealthy and sustainable future for the country. Last but not least, number 14, Egypt, high-speed rail system. The Egyptian Ministry of Transport signed a deal with Siemens Mobility, or Ascom Construction, and the Arab contractors on May 28, 2022, to develop the nation's high-speed rail network. With a high-speed, fully electrified main and freight train line, the Egyptian high-speed rail network will be created as an advanced interconnected rail system. This system will also enable trains to run at a maximum speed of 250 kilometers per hour. Compared to driving a car or using a bus, the system will save 70% on carbon emissions and minimize primary energy use. The new railway network is an expression of Egypt's aspirations to invest in a dependable high-speed rail network to revolutionize public transportation in the nation. More than just railroads and tracks, this billion-dollar project overseen by Siemens Mobility connects 60 cities over 2,000 kilometers. It's a logistical lifeline boosting travel, trade, and local development with the promise of cutting travel times and getting to Alexandria in a breeze of 45 minutes. Promoting travel and opening up economic opportunities in previously undeveloped areas. But the effects go beyond national boundaries. With its quick passenger and freight mobility, this north-south juggernaut has the potential to expand into neighboring nations and become a continental backbone that promotes trade and regional integration. Which of these projects was your favorite? What would be the most effective and useful construction project on this list? Comment your thoughts.